Hi, my name is Elias MOKOLE, and welcome to Developing Your Authentic Voice. I have been a voice teacher and professional singer for a number of years, and it's my hope that some of these things that I'm going to share you might find useful. And one of the topics I'd like to talk about today in this brief session is our voice tips for anyone. Is the study of voice just for those who want to sing or speak publicly? What other lines of work or professions might benefit from this kind of study? And is it possible for one to improve one's voice and the way it sounds? These are questions that I'm frequently asked. And I hear back that people generally have this idea that their voice is unchangeable and inflexible. I've heard them say things like, I don't like my voice, I don't like the way it sounds. And I understand that because I've experienced that myself. The reality is that we don't often hear our voices the way others do. Now, we've been looking at images of ourselves for numbers of years. And I think it's only recently that we've had the opportunity to easily record our own voices, such as smartphones, et cetera, et cetera. So when was the last time you listened to a recording of your voice externally? I've heard people say that after death, speaking publicly is one of folks' greatest fears. Why is that, do you think? And another question, by listening critically to our own voice, can we determine or improve or grow our unique vocal strengths? I believe that by becoming aware of how we produce sound in a basic way can give us more confidence and make us feel more sure of ourselves as it relates to communication. Also, by becoming more self-aware, we might achieve a deeper understanding about how others communicate, which can also help us listen more actively, both to what messages we send and the ones that we receive. So, developing our self-awareness by observing and understanding how our voice works on a basic conceptual level could be a useful thing for many professions. How we communicate and the style and color and register of our vowels are how we individualize who we are in relationship to how we speak. So, after all, our voice is our calling card, and it is one of the first things that people notice about us. So I mentioned vowels. We don't often think about words through a phonetic lens. And I'm not talking about, hyper focusing on it, but just like words are made of consonants and vowels. And it's helpful to think about these things as basic building blocks. So the power of our voice, what's called the power of our voice, travels primarily, in my estimation, through vowels and how we form them. How we create these vowel sounds is what makes each of us sound unique. And I think that's super cool. I love listening to voices, either singing or talking. And when I'm speaking of developing one's authentic voice, that gets at what that means for me. If one's intention in singing or speaking is to communicate a specific idea or feeling, then it becomes interesting to think about how we make these sounds in our own individual authentic way and to enhance that if we choose to. And as we delve deeper into each session, you'll find the components I deal with initially are breath and how we form these vowels, what I've heard called pure vowels. E, A, O, and U. So I like to think of these things, because analogies are helpful sometimes, as primary colors and that get mixed together to create other colors. And I like to think of the voice as painting. If you're a numbers person, I've often used the analogy of prime numbers. So whatever you choose or whatever image is helpful for you, it's interesting to think about this because there are commonalities in how we form vowels, and it's interesting to see how we use these commonalities in whatever language we're choosing to communicate in. For me, that's been the goal of my life, both as a singer and a speaker and teacher, is to convey something specific so the listener has a clear idea of some kind of intent. But interestingly enough, I have found in presentations that it isn't always important that they come away with the intention that I was hoping they'd get. But the vibrations created by intentional communication help create more energy, I believe, and connect with others. The voice in an acoustic sense, when you're in a room with somebody, it has a certain tangible thing that we can actually hear and feel. A couple of years ago, I was teaching a class in which I asked the participants to give me ideas about professions that might benefit from the study of voice that are not the obvious ones, singing, speaking publicly. And here are a couple of what they said. I'd like to share with you some of that. So, finance, entrepreneur, birthing coaching, being a CEO of a company, helping to deal with performance anxiety, and not just in the sense of a performer, but in any kind of presentation situation. Public speaking positions. One person said teaching English and reading out loud. Speech therapist, personal trainer for exercises, sports broadcaster, paramedic, helping to keep calm, professional athlete, and you get the idea, psychology. It was interesting. I posed the question and then just captured some of their responses. So I believe that exploring this can help and open our minds to a variety of ways we can share our voice and appreciate the unique voice of others. So I'll leave you with this. In writing, to make an analogy, when we talk about a writer's voice, it might be observed that the study of how language is used in any given culture may give insight to be creative and expressive in communication. So say, for example, in English, you might study the parts of speech and how to construct sentences, and then deviate from that in a creative way. I believe that communication, both in written and voice, I've heard it referred to as a superpower. And I have noticed, and it brings me great joy to hear others benefit from tools to unlock their ability to express, especially in the vocal way and using their voice to communicate. So if any of this is engaged with you and you want to hear more, please feel free to look at the playlist for developing your authentic voice. And then there's the Rainbow channel. So I hope to see you soon, and I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen.